Neighborhood Vampire Witch Magic is back with Magium, Chapter 8. Been trying to do this for like the past 2 hours, but you know, kid crises and stuff. So let's get into it. Barry! I hear Darren's voice calling out to me. Hey Barry, can you hear me? I wake up with a slight headache and my vision blurry. As I start to see clearer, I notice that I am sitting in the middle of a room with stone walls and no windows, with the only visible exit being a metal bar door which seems to be locked shut. The stones used to build the walls looked very old and are full of cracks, and there's moss growing all over them. If I were to guess, I'd say we're being held in the prison cell of some old ruins. I suddenly remember Kate's friend and how she left us all unconscious in the middle of the forest. Is she the one that brought us here? I look around me to see if everyone's here. Darren is standing right beside me, while Kate and Rose are sitting on the floor on the opposite side of the room with their backs leaned against the wall. Hadrick is standing near the metal bar door and knocking lightly on the walls around it, likely in an attempt to test their durability. What happened? I asked Darren. Did the Lasathi bring us here? No, it wasn't the Lasathi, Darren says. It was the animals from the forest. They seemed really upset that we trespassed on their sacred magical fairy lands. I'll gladly bring you up to speed with everything that happened while you were passed out, but first can you please shut off that infernal device of yours? It's been beeping ever since I woke up. And it's really starting to get on my nerves. I take out the stat device and see that I've received 4 more points while I was unconscious. It must have picked up some energy from the air after yesterday's fights. Alright. Let's go ahead and max that out because I'm probably going to need that. Observation's already maxed. So let's do hearing. Maybe some premonition. Okay. Once I'm done with the stat booster, I put it back in my pocket and the device stops beeping. Finally, Darren says. At least now we can get some peace and quiet while we try to think of a way out of here. Wait, I tell him. You said that some animals brought us here, but I don't see anyone guarding our cell. Did they come by here while I was still unconscious? Yeah, says Darren. A tiger and a bear came by earlier and started growling at us. At first I thought the jailers sent their pets here to scare us, but then Kate and Rose started talking to them by making weird animal noises. It turns out that all of the animals and monsters on this continent can speak, but they only use ancient languages. Monsters can't speak in the common tongue because they don't know any better. And the animals aren't allowed to speak it because their spirit fox leader has forbidden its use after the humans started hunting them for food. It also turns out that having a basic understanding of ancient languages is not so uncommon if you were born on this continent. Never mind all that, I tell Darren. Did they say what they want from us? Yeah, they said we should wait here until their great golden fox arrives, and they apparently kept making jokes about how she'll teach all of us a lesson. So why aren't they guarding us then? What's to stop us from just breaking through the walls and escaping? These, Darren says as he points at his neck. For the first time I noticed that we are all wearing green collars around our necks with strange markings written on them. I turn to Kate. Wait, are these? I start to ask her, but she cuts me off. Yes, she answers. They're the same type of collars that the ancients use on artificial mages at the Beacon of Hope in order to keep their powers under control. The good news is that I know how to turn them off. The bad news is that we need to find the device that's powering all these collars before I can use it to deactivate them. These ruins were also built by the Lasathi of old, so if they are anything like the beacon, then there should be a control room not far from here. But if none of you can cast spells, then why is Hadrick still in his dwarf form? Yeah, I was wondering about that too, Hadrick says. I guess the collars don't actually dispel any spell that you cast on yourself before wearing them. They just prevent you from casting any more magic. The first thing I tried when I woke up was to turn into a giant, but this damn collar won't let me cast any sort of shape-shifting magic. You say that you can't cast any magic, I tell him, but you still have your superhuman strength, right? Aye, Hedrick says, grinning, but even with my power, I still can't smash the collar around my neck. These blasted contraptions seem to be near indestructible. Now I was checking to see if the walls are as durable as the collars, but it looks like they're just made up of regular stones. I should be able to break through them without any problem. Wait, I think we should try to talk things through with their leader first. Sounds like a good plan, says Darren with a sarcastic tone. I mean, for all we know, this may well be some cultural misunderstanding and they only want to offer us a cup of tea. Damn it, Darren, you know very well that this isn't what I was. All right, everyone, Darren shouts loudly to cover up the sound of my voice. It's time for a vote. Barry says that we should all stay here and eat cupcakes with the Queen of Magical Fairyland. I say we should make a run for it now, while there's no one guarding our cell. Whoever also thinks that escaping now would be our best course of action, please raise your hand. All four of them raise their hands simultaneously. Darren and Hedrick are both grinning at me, while Kate is looking away and Rose is smiling apologetically. Sorry, Barry, she says. Well, Darren continues, since we're running a democracy here, I'm afraid that you were 2 votes short of a victory. Barry, it's too bad. The results are pretty close. Hedrick, whenever you're ready. Aye, the dwarf says, preparing to punch a hole in the wall. Stop, I say, and Hedrick interrupts his swing to look at me. Oh, for crying out loud, what is it this time? Darren asks. What if this is all a trap? I say. Don't you find it strange that there isn't even a single guard watching our cell? What if they're baiting us to escape so they can capture us again on more severe charges? Right now, the only thing we're guilty of is temporarily trespassing on their territory. Given that we are outsiders and do not know these lands very well, we should have extenuating circumstances. But if we try to escape now, we'll most surely have to fight some of the animals, and we might even be forced to kill some of them. Do we really want to make enemies of an entire race just because of a small misunderstanding? Hedrick says thoughtfully while stroking his beard. The lad does have a point. You can't be serious, Darren tells him. Rose, I continue, didn't you tell us that the spirit of the fox of theirs is like some kind of god? Isn't she like crazy strong? Oh, yes, Rose says. She is thousands of years old and likely dwarfs the power of most mages from this tournament. So would you choose to make her into our enemy right off the bat, knowing that there might be a small chance to talk things through with her if we just have a little patience? Well, when you put it like that, I suppose I wouldn't, Rose says, smiling. Oh, come on, Darren says, exasperated. You were all on my side a few moments ago. What's the matter, Darren? I ask him with a smirk. Don't you like democracy anymore? Darren frowns at me, but he eventually gives up and decides to drop his stance on the subject. Fine, he says. I see that you've all made up your minds already, so there's no use in dragging this matter on any further. We'll have a talk with the great golden fox and see where we go from there. It doesn't take long for the animal's leader to make her appearance. Her shape is that of a normal fox, but her fur is so bright that it looks like it's made of actual gold. The magical aura that she emanates is rather intimidating, but it also gives off an otherworldly vibe. A similar vibe, in fact, to that of a banshee. Could she originate from the magical plane as well? The fox is being accompanied by a leopard and a bull, one on her left side and the one on her right, just like 2 bodyguards, walking alongside some rich noble kid. When they all stop in front of our cell, the fox starts speaking to us in the common tongue. Greetings, outsiders, she says. I am Elea, the golden fox, and these are my 2 trusted lieutenants, Leo, the leopard, and Taurus, the bull. Leo and Taurus, Darren says in a low voice. Name creativity at its best. Shouldn't Leo be a lion's name, though? Hedrick asks him. Shh, Rose tells them, looking frantically at the 3 animals to see if any of them heard their banter. The bull seems to have both heard and understood Darren's jest, as he is now looking straight at him with a furious look in his eyes. The leopard either didn't hear his remark or didn't deem it worthy of a reaction on his part. The fox simply ignores them altogether and continues her speech as if nothing had happened. My loyal subjects inform me that you were caught trespassing on our sacred grounds. What do you have to say in your defense? We didn't know that we were on sacred grounds? That is your defense, the fox asked me, baffled. Is that... In what way does ignorance absolve you of your transgressions? Do you deny having trespassed on our sacred grounds? No, but... Then I hereby find you guilty and sentence you to a lifetime of hard labor in our animal kingdom. May your years spent here making you reflect upon what you have done and repent for your crimes. Now wait just 1 second, Darren says. What kind of nonsensical sentence is this? Who sentenced someone to a life of labor like that just because they happen to walk into a forbidden area by accident? Do you also execute your fawns and cubs if they don't keep off the grass in a park? You'd be wise to not address me in such a casual manner, mage in armor, Elias says. But to answer your question, the animal kingdom has neither parks nor a rule to keep off the grass in any region of the continent. However, if there were such a rule and a cub or fawn were to break it, then I assure you I would not hesitate in ordering their execution. Rules are meant to be upheld by oath by humans and animals. The fact that you humans are so lenient with your rules is one of the main reasons why your society is decaying to such a degree. I hear no more of this. You begin your work tomorrow at the break of dawn. You have until then to prepare yourselves for what is to come. With these last words, the golden fox leaves, and her bull companion hurries to follow her. The leopard stays behind for a bit and magically conjures a yellow envelope on the floor in front of him out of thin air. He then uses one of his front paws to push the envelope under the metal bar and door into our cell. Once he makes sure that he's got our attention, he also goes to follow the fox and the bull without uttering a single word to us. Rose picks up the envelope from the ground and opens it. Inside, there's a small note that appears to be written in the common language. What does it say? Kate asks her. It says, if you reach a corridor that splits into 3 paths, each marked with a symbol of an insect, choose the one marked with a beetle. Hold on, Kate says. Does this mean that Leopard expects us to escape and is giving us directions? So, Barry, Darren says in a particularly loud voice, even though we're all very close to each other. What do you figure we should do next? Do you think we should wait until tomorrow and see if the golden fox has a change of heart? Maybe we should hold another vote to decide our best course of action. What do you say, Barry? Should we hold another vote? The smug grin he has on his face is getting a little irritating. That's enough, Darren, Kate says. None of us could have known what the fox's intentions were beforehand. They still left no guards to watch over us, so no harm was done. In fact, we may even be in a better position than we were before, judging by the contents of the note that Rose is holding in her hands. Aye, Hadrick says. We all agreed to hear the fox out before trying to escape. It was a good idea while it lasted. Having been left with no other alternative than to break out of our cell, we waited for a few minutes to make sure that the fox and her lieutenants were out of hearing range, and then Hadrick shattered the wall of our prison with his fist. As we step over the rubble and take a good look outside of our cell, we see that the corridor we've just entered is completely deserted. If it weren't for a few lit torches here and there, it wouldn't be too far-fetched to assume that this building has been abandoned over a long time ago. Our cells seem to have been placed at the far end of the corridor, which means that the only way for us to go is left. I don't like this, says Kate as we walk down the corridor. This is the same direction which the fox and her followers went. The last thing we want is to run into them while we're escaping. Well, it's not like we were given much of a choice, Hadrick says. There was only one way to go after we walked out of our cell, and there haven't been any forks in the road since then. What intrigues me most is that we haven't passed by a single cell since we got out. Isn't this supposed to be a dungeon of some sort? Where are all the other prisoners? Maybe they only have one cell per corridor? Rose suggests. Forget the prisoners, I say. I'm more worried about the complete lack of guards in this place. Did they seriously think that we couldn't bring down these frail old walls without magic? Hey, Rose, Darren calls out as he's studying the writing on a wall. Can you come over here for a second? Certainly, Rose says, and she heads over by his side. You can read ancient languages, right? Can you tell me what this says? Rose says as she looks at the text and furrows her brows. I'm afraid that this is a bit too advanced for me. I can tell that it's written in the language used by the Lasathi of old, but I cannot understand any of the words. Barry, Darren says, didn't that trinket of yours have a stat named Ancient Languages? Come over here and see if you can translate this. As I start to decipher the glyphs on the wall, I realize that the writing says, if you like discovering secrets, tap each of these glyphs in rapid succession. Well, Darren asks me, what does it say? I'm going to touch it. I tap all the glyphs in order, one by one, just as the instructions said. Suddenly the stone with the markings on its slides itself to the side, and two small objects get thrown out of the hole it left in the wall. The stone then slides back into its original position. Upon closer inspection, I see that the two objects that came out of the wall are a small parchment and what appears to be a piece of a puzzle. I take them both from the ground and read the piece of the parchment. The text it is written on is a common language this time, and it says, "Find all the pieces of the puzzle, and I will share with you my greatest secret. I've left one of these in each of the buildings I've designed." The parchment is then signed as simply this building's architect. "Okay," Darren says as I put the small parchment and the puzzle piece in my left pocket. "First of all, what did the glyph say? And secondly, what are those?" The glyph said that if I press them all in rapid succession, I'll discover a secret. The parchment said that if I find all the pieces of the puzzle, I'll find out this building's architect's greatest secret. "Useless," Darren says, disappointed as he steps away from the wall and starts to walk down the corridor again. I don't know what I was expecting, really. I mean, it's not like we're... Darren stops mid-sentence when he realizes that there's something blocking his path. There's a little girl standing in front of her with her hands behind her back and a cheerful smile on her face. She's wearing a golden amulet around her neck, a gray tank top shirt, large pants commonly worn by clowns, and no shoes. She is about 4 feet tall, and her long red hair is almost reaching her waist. Given her height and general appearance, I'd say that she's no older than 10. Okay. And yet I'm not getting any sort of warning to not hurt her. Isn't she one of the locals? "Hello," she tells Darren, still smiling. "What the?" Darren says. "Where did you come from?" "There," the girl says while pointing toward the hole in the ceiling. "Oh, okay," says Darren. "And what are you doing here?" "We were just doing some training in the room above when we heard you talking below us. My name is Flower. Pleased to meet you." Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on there. Who's we? Flower seems to have been caught off guard by Darren's question. "Did I say we?" she asks. "I'm sorry. I meant to say I. I was doing some training in the room above. No we, just I." "What do you mean by training?" Kate asks her. "Oh, lots of stuff," the girl says. "But mostly I come here to practice my acrobatic skills. There's all sorts of traps around here, and I try to dodge them while doing fancy backflips or while I'm running on walls. It's really fun." "There are traps in these ruins?" Kate asks. "Yeah, the place is filled with them. You need to watch your step if you're not from around here. Did you all come here for sightseeing?" No," Kate says. "We were captured by the animals and locked up in a cell. We're currently looking for the control room so we could turn off the collars around our necks. You wouldn't happen to know where that is, would you?" "Control room?" Flower asks, and she pauses a little to think. "Oh, you mean the room full of levers and buttons? Sure, I know where that is. Follow me. I'll show you the way." As she starts walking down the corridor, Darren says to me in a low voice, "Something's not right here. The spell that the organizers cast on us isn't reacting to her in any way. What do you think is causing this?" "Maybe she's also participating in the tournament?" A 9-year-old girl participating in a deadly tournament between mages? Not everyone has a death wish like you, Barry. Doesn't matter who she is, Kate interrupts us. She clearly knows this place better than us, and if she were working with the animals, she would have already alerted them of our presence. Either way, there's only one path for us to take at this point, so we don't really have much choice other than to go after her. We'll decide later if we should trust her or not. When we catch up with Flower, we hear her start talking with a much colder tone than before. While she speaks, she is still walking down the corridor and her back is turned to us. "What's wrong with you, Flower?" she says in her cold voice. "We came to these desolate ruins to train, not to play tour guide. We don't even know who these people are." "Relax, Petal," the girl says this time in her previous cheerful tone. "They seem like nice people. We can get back to training once we're done showing them around. This shouldn't take long." "I'm sorry. Who are you talking to?" Kate asks her. Flower gets startled by Kate's question and quickly turns around to face her. Did we say that out loud?" she asks. "I mean me. Me, not we, because there's only one of me." "Wait, are you implying that there's more than one of you in there?" Darren asks. "What? No, that's crazy. You're crazy." She then starts laughing very nervously and unnaturally. "Did she just call me crazy?" Darren asks us. Suddenly there's a muffled laughter coming from within the golden amulet that Flower is wearing around her neck. The girl opens up the amulet and starts talking to it. Shut up, Araka, she said. Almost said a car. She says, now that I can hear the laughter clear, I realize that the voice inside the amulet is made up of 3 different voices, all women, laughing simultaneously. Once the being inside the amulet realizes that we can now hear her clearly, she starts speaking to us. Hey, you there, the voice says. This girl's a banshee. Quick, check her magical aura. Check her magical aura. Flower panics as she closes the amulet, shutting the voice up, but the harm had already been done. As I analyze her magical aura in detail, I realize that it's in fact a lot more powerful than it seems, and that she's willfully suppressing it in order to make it seem like that of a normal human. But is she an actual banshee or another artificial mage like Kate? There's something off about her aura. I can't tell exactly what. It feels almost as if she has 2 distinct magical auras around her, one that gives off an otherworldly vibe and one that doesn't. It's as if both the girl and the banshee that possessed her are somehow coexisting in the same body as 2 separate entities. But that's impossible, isn't it? Maybe not. So that's what she's been hiding from us all this time, Darren says. He then turns to the girl. Kid, you're in luck, he says. You don't need to live in fear any longer. Despite my looks, I just happen to be an established white mage. I'll rid you of your banshee problem in no time. What? The girl says, shocked. No, you can't. Of course I can, Darren says. Don't worry about the collar. The sword has more than enough enchantments on it to be able to carry out a purification ritual, even without me casting any spells. That banshee will be dead before you know it, and you'll be able to live your life as a normal girl again. No! Flower shouts. She's my friend. I won't let you hurt her. I like Flower. Friend? Darren asks the girl as he approaches her. This is even more serious than I thought. I need to get you purified quick. You're not thinking straight anymore. When he gets closer to Flower, one of the stones that he stepped on starts sinking into the floor, and we can hear some other stones moving above our heads. Look out! Flower says, pointing upwards as a large rock detaches itself from the ceiling and descends upon our heads. The girl raises her hand with her palm facing the big boulder as she shoots a fireball at it, which pulverizes the rock in an instant. As we are getting showered with rubble from the destroyed boulder, the walls are now slowly starting to close in on us, with a loud and menacing sound echoing all through the corridor. Oh no, Flower says. I remember this trap. This isn't good. The walls aren't going to stop until they turn us all into red, gooey paste. She starts looking all around her for a way out. And her eyes find the hole in the ceiling that she used to get into our corridor. Okay, I've got an idea, she says. I think I may be able to create an enclosed space here by blowing up the roof on both sides of the corridor. I can then flood the room with water so we can all swim up to the hole in the ceiling. Can you guys swim? Well, I'm dressed from head to toe in heavy armor, so what do you think? Darren asks her. Okay, new plan. I think there was a secret mechanism in the room above to stop the walls from moving. Petal, can you give me a boost? The girl puts both arms alongside her with her palms facing downwards. 2 powerful jets of water start erupting out of her hands, which lift her into the air and right through the hole in the ceiling. What the hell? Darren says. Didn't she use fire magic just a moment ago? Don't tell me that she's already mastered 2 elements by the age of 9. Actually, I think that the water is the banshee's element, I tell Darren. What did you just say? He asks me. Guys, can you hear me? Flower asks us from the room above, but she then continues to talk about waiting for an answer. Just wanted to let you know that I found the secret mechanism, but you see, the thing is, there's more than just one mechanism, and I don't really know which one of these is the right one, but I'm sure I'll figure it out in good time. Probably. Okay, that's it, Hedrick says. I'm going to punch right through this wall until we get to the other side. What? Kate shouts. No, don't do that. Are you insane? What if the wall is the only thing holding up the ceiling above us, and it will come crashing down upon us once you destroy it? So you'd rather sit here and get squashed between 2 walls then, Hedrick says. You're not seriously thinking that the little goofball up there is going to figure out the complex mechanisms that run this place before the walls reach us, do you? Guys, Flower says, I don't know if you can hear me, but I just realized that I forgot to tell you one important thing. Whatever you do, don't smash the walls. Okay, good. Now then, let's see. I think I've got this. Aha! Okay, no, that was the light switch. Back to the drawing board. Hadrick, it's too risky. Can't you give Flower just a little more time? Hadrick looks displeased that he isn't getting any kind of support from the group. Well, all right then, Hadrick says. If no one likes my idea, then I'll hold off for a while longer. But mark my words, if those walls actually reach us, I'm not going to hold back. After 15 more seconds of waiting, the walls start to slow down, and soon they come to a complete halt. It doesn't take long for Flower to make her appearance again, with a victorious smile on her face. "Ha-ha, I did it," she says, soon after she drops from the hole in the ceiling. "But I think I should also tell you the bad news. See, when I was fiddling around with those complex mechanisms upstairs, I may have accidentally activated all the traps on this corridor." "You what?" Kate asks her. "Don't worry, I can still fix this." Flower says, "I think I know where most of the traps are, so as long as you follow my instructions, you should be fine. I just need to do a quick test run and make sure that I'm not remembering anything wrong." The girl starts sprinting down the corridor and makes a surprisingly long jump, which lands her on a large stone with 2 cracks on either side of it. She then does an elegant pirouette and turns towards us. "See," she tells us, "everything's under control." As soon as she finishes talking, one of the walls opens up and a large pendulum blade comes swinging out of it, aiming directly for Flower. She rolls out of its way and triggers 2 more traps by accident. There are now dozens of arrows shooting out of both walls, while sharp spinning blades are coming out of the floor and moving in circles all around her. At first glance, the girl appears to be a bit just clumsily stumbling around while evading the traps out of sheer luck. As I watch her more closely, I realize that even though her movements all seem erratic, they have a way of flowing into one another, which allows her to not waste even a single second between 2 actions. I guess she wasn't kidding when she said that she came to this place to train her acrobatic skills. Hadrick shakes his head as he watches the girl jump around, and he lays flat on the floor with his ear pressed against the ground, trying to listen for something. Guys, I know this looks bad," Flower tells us as she jumps off the wall, lands on her left hand, and then bounces off the floor like a spring. "But if I keep going like this, I'll either remember the right path or end up setting off all the traps, so it's a win either way." "Yeah, no, this is clearly not getting us anywhere," Hadrick says as he stands up. "The fox is going to be here any minute. We can't afford to dawdle here while the girl tests all the traps. This corridor is compromised, but I could hear some noises below us. These ruins have a subterranean level waiting to be found, and I'm about to create a shortcut to it." "Don't you dare!" Kate shouts. "What's that?" Hadrick asks with a grin. "I'm having trouble hearing you because of all the noise those traps are making." He then punches the ground below us, which cracks all the stones and sends us falling down along with all the rubble that used to make the floor beneath our feet. It was a longer way down than I would have hoped, but fortunately the surface we landed on was soft enough that we didn't break anything from the fall. "Hadrick, how could you do something so reckless?" Kate shouts. "Do you think we're all giants in disguise like you? Do you realize that if this unusually soft surface wasn't here to break our fall, we would have broken all our bones? I swear, if I still had my ice powers, I would have smacked you so hard on the head that I'd left you in a coma." As Kate talks, I can feel the surface we're on move slowly up and down. We can also hear a continuous low growl somewhere above us. Something's not right here. I'm not very good at these decisions. We're always worried when I choose the wrong one. We're on something that's breathing and there's a sound above us. I start to look closely at the surface we're all sitting on to see if I can tell what it's made of. It has a sort of slithery feel to it, as if I'm not mistaken, there are small green scales covering the whole surface. At this point in time, I could already make an educated guess at what exactly we'd landed on. But still, a part of me did not want to believe it, so I looked up in the hopes that my intuition was wrong. 9 snake-like creatures, each at least 6 times the size of me, were all staring at me with their fangs bared and drool falling out of their mouths. All the 9 snakes were connected to a large body we landed on when we fell from the upper level. I've only read about creatures like these in books before, but even so, there's no mistaking it. We've all landed on a hydra. Kate and Hadrick are still arguing and did not notice the situation we're in. Darren is only now inspecting the slithery and dark green scale-covered surface we've landed on, and Rose is looking up at the snakes with a terrified look in her eyes, unable to bring herself to speak. "Guys," I tell Hadrick and Kate, "I really hate to interrupt you, but I think you should have a look at this." And then point upwards, and both of them freeze for a moment. "Gods have mercy," Hadrick says as he seems unable to avert his eyes from the hideous creatures' heads. "Everyone get down from the hydra," Darren shouts as he takes Rose in his arms and jumps off the monster's body. "Now!" I slide off the creature's slippery body and land on the stone floor below. We then all distance ourselves from the Hydra and arm ourselves, waiting to see what its first move will be. The snake heads all roar at the same time, and the monster starts approaching us slowly with its long tail, swinging continuously from left to right as it walks. One of the snakes takes initiative and lunges for us. Its attack was rather slow, so I had time to get out of its way, but its impact with the wall behind us left a big hole in it. Darren wastes no time and uses his sword to cut off the head of the Hydra with one swift strike. No, don't do that, I tell him. Why would you do that? The Hydra quickly retracts its headless snake body, and all the other 8 heads start screaming in pain. Then in a matter of seconds, the severed head grows back, with all the other heads grow quiet once more. Yeah, you're not supposed to cut off Hydra's heads. What? Darren asked me. You didn't really believe those old legends about the Hydras growing 2 heads for every one you cut, right? I've fought Hydras before, and none of them possess that kind of an ability. Still, the regeneration ability of this one is through the roof. Last time I fought one of these, I had more than enough time to cut off all the heads before they started regenerating. But there's no way that's going to work with this particular monster. The only way we're killing it is if we find out where its heart is and stab it, or if we use fire to prevent it from regenerating. Damnations, Kate says. If only I had my ice magic, I would have easily cut all those heads off simultaneously. Didn't that little girl have fire magic? Darren asks. He then starts to shout the girl's name while looking at the hole in the roof. Flower! Hey, Flower! There's no answer. You're wasting your breath, Hedrick says. There's no way she can hear you from all the way up there with the sound all those traps are making. Yeah, you're probably right, Darren says as he readies his sword once more and takes a look towards the monster. The Hydra has taken a few steps back while Darren was talking, and it's been just standing there for a while, hesitating to attack. It must be afraid that it'll get one of its heads cut off again. Well, Hedrick says, if it's not going to come at us. He doesn't finish his sentence and rushes straight for the 9-headed creature. The monster attacks the dwarf with 4 of its heads, but he jumps out of the way and manages to place himself below the Hydra's body. Hedrick then flexes all of his muscles and starts lifting the Hydra off the ground as he roars loudly and his face turns almost red from the effort. Before the Hydra has time to react, the dwarf sends it crashing into the nearest wall. The creature is now staggering clumsily, trying to get back up. Guess I can't just let a good opportunity like this go to waste, Darren says. Barry, you take care of Rose. I'll go fight the Hydra with Hedrick. Okay, I tell him as he rushes towards the monster and starts slashing at its enormous body. I turn around to see that Rose is sitting on the floor with her back leaning against the wall and her arms holding her legs, trying in vain to control her shivering. Rose, she doesn't give any sign of having heard me and continues to shiver uncontrollably while looking at the ground. Hey, Rose, are you with me? Let her be, Kate tells me. She'll get over it once the Hydra's dealt with and the danger passes. It was the same when we fought Tyras. She's already doing all she can to keep control of herself. I suppose you're right, I tell her, and then I turn around to see how the fight with the Hydra is going. It doesn't seem like Hedrick and Darren are losing the fight, but it's not like they're winning either. The Hydra's using its snake heads to keep them both at bay, while Darren tries to take advantage of every opportunity he gets to stab the creature's body and hope that he'll manage to find its heart through sheer luck. The Hydra's large body regenerates almost as fast as its heads, so they haven't really made much progress outside of crossing out all the parts of the body where the heart is not located. This looks like it might take a while. After a few more failed assassination attempts, Hedrick and Darren take a few steps backwards to catch their breath. Suddenly, an enormous pillar of flames engulfs the Hydra as it starts screaming in agony with all of its heads. The screams die off quickly as the Hydra turns completely black. Its charred remains fall on the ground lifeless. Soon after the flames disappear, Flower drops from the hole in the ceiling and slows down her fall with small jets of fire coming out of her feet. I like this child. Oh, gods, she says as she lands somewhere near us. I didn't know there was a Hydra down here. I would have come sooner, but those traps and stairs just kept going and going. Is anyone hurt? Petal knows a bit of healing magic, so we should be able to help if nothing's too serious. The way she casually dealt with that Hydra and the calm manner in which she's talking now makes me think that this girl has dealt with far stronger enemies in the past. I'm not sure what the situation would be if we were all at our full strength, but the way we are now, making an enemy of this little girl would be nothing short of suicide. We need to choose our words carefully if we want to get out of here in one piece. Actually, I could use some healing right about now, Hedrick says. This wound on my leg in particular is killing me. We're on it, the girl says as she approaches the dwarf and puts her hand on his wound. Petal, she asks, and then she pauses for a few moments. The girl's eyes then start shining with a bright blue light as her expression becomes a lot colder, and a warm light starts coming out of her hand, slowly healing Hedrick's wounds. So, Hedrick says while grinning, you must be the banshee that inhabiting the girl's body. Petal, is it? The girl looks at the dwarf in the eye without changing her cold expression, but she doesn't say anything. She then shifts her gaze back to his wound and continues to heal it diligently. Not really the talkative sort, are you? Hedrick asks, still grinning. As the wound heals completely, the girl's eyes turn back to their normal green color and her warm expression returns as well. Oh, she's usually not this silent, Flower says. I think she's just shy around strangers. Well, I think this farce has gone on long enough, Darren says as he starts approaching Flower. I really am sorry that I have to ruin this beautiful friendship, but I'm afraid the banshee has to go. Actually, I don't think that will be possible, I tell him. Oh, yeah, Darren says, and why is that? Please enlighten us. Oh, great banshee expert. Because the banshee has already awakened. In fact, I think she's been in this state for a very long time. Impossible. Everyone knows that an awakened banshee is supposed to look like a genuine monster. Almost nothing should remain of their human host's appearance. Yeah, I have seen a banshee awaken before, remember? That doesn't, however, change the fact that this banshee is already awakened, in spite of all that. Since she is clearly no longer in a dormant state, why don't you try your purification technique on her if you don't believe me? Humph, Darren says, I was going to do that anyway. Leave the kid alone, Darren. What are you doing? Flower asks Darren as he approaches her and starts moving his sword in the air around her. Flower, it's all right, I tell her. His technique won't work on you or Petal. I guarantee it. Okay, Flower says with a slight tremor in her voice. Darren waves his sword in the air for about 15 seconds, trying to get it to light up so he can commence the purification ritual. It's not working, Darren says after having finally given up. Of course it isn't, I tell him. The purification technique can only be used before a banshee is fully awakened, or if the banshee never existed in the first place. An awakened banshee's aura is just too erratic to be able to get a good lock on, so the technique will simply fail to activate. The only way you can kill the banshee now is if you also kill the girl along with her. Is that what you want? No, that's not. I don't. Listen to me, the girl shouts at us. Petal's here to stay, whether you like it or not. You don't have to talk to her if you don't want to. And I'm here too. And even if I'm not the best guide there is, I'm the only guide you have. I promised that I'd take you all to the room full of buttons. I don't intend to fall back on that promise. Are you still wanting to follow my lead? Please tell me that you have at least a vague idea of where we are headed. Of course, Flower says. The first thing we need to do is get back to the corridor we came from. There's an elevator not far from here that can take us back to the upper level. It will leave us right at the end of the corridor, so we won't have to worry about any more traps. That actually sounds like a pretty good plan. I agree, Kate says. We can't afford to waste time bumbling around with a spirit fox breathing down our necks. I say we follow the girl's lead for now. Rose says, still not fully recovering her voice after the Hydra incident. I think we should follow Flower as well. All right, then, the girl says as her face lights up. You're not going to regret this. Come on, follow me. I know exactly where we're going. She then takes the lead and starts marching like a soldier. Gosh, I don't like that word. In front of us while repeatedly saying, hut, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I'm starting to regret this already, Darren says as we all start to follow the girl's footsteps and leave the Hydra's room behind. After a few minutes of walking, we finally reach the elevator that Flower spoke of. It is entirely made of stone, but there are several layers inside of it, which I assume are used to operate it. Okay, this is the elevator I told you about, the girl says as we all enter it. Now, if only I could remember which one of these levers I need to pull. She starts looking at each lever in turn with her eyebrows furrowed. Ooh, I can't remember which one's the right one, the girl exclaims after 10 seconds of continuous staring. There's a mumbling sound coming from the amulet that Flower is wearing around her neck. What is it, Araka? The girl asks as she opens the amulet. Hey, Flower, the voice in the amulet says. I remember which of the levers you need to pull in order to get to the upper level. It's the second one from the right. You're not lying to me again, are you? Flower asked, looking at the amulet suspiciously. No, no, no. It's the truth. I swear on my mother. Well, okay then, the girl says as she pulls a lever. Suddenly the elevator starts moving, but somewhat unsurprisingly, the direction we are heading is down instead of up. What's with this amulet? You swore, Flower says fiercely. You swore on your mother. I don't have a mother, you twit, Araka tells her, and she starts laughing hysterically. As we descend towards the lower levels of the ruins, there are several low, continuous growls audible somewhere below us. I've had just about enough of this, the girl says as her eyes turn blue again. And she starts fiddling with the levers until the elevator stops in its tracks and heads back up. You just had to ruin all the fun like you always do, don't you, Iluna? The voice says from the amulet as the girl's eyes turn green again. Wait, who's Iluna? I ask the girl. Is that the Banshee's real name? Never mind that, Hadrick says. What I want to know is who the spirit in that amulet is. I want to know that too. Who, me? Araka says. Why, I'm the spirit of joy and laughter. The evil girl is keeping me trapped in here, won't let me do my job of spreading happiness all throughout the world. Will you not save me from this villain? Spirit of joy and laughter, eh? Hedrick says with an unusual grin. So I'm guessing that the sinister aura all around you must be because of the amulet the girl's keeping you in then. Arak asks. Oh no, I just forgot to change it. The sinister aura around her now disappears completely, and it is replaced with one of joy and kindness. See, now I'm the spirit of joy and laughter, Araka says, having changed her voice to resemble that of a sweet little girl. If you don't believe me, you can just ask all the people who've had the honor of meeting me. I always lead them with a smile on their face. Of course, it would be a little hard to get them to talk to you since they're all dead, and now that I come to think of it, the expression I usually leave them with is somewhat less of a smile and more of a look of sheer terror. But I'm pretty sure that I've carved a few smiles into the necks of at least some of them. So it should still count, right? Flower interrupts Araka's speech by closing the amulet, and then she holds on to it for a few seconds, clenching her fists around it angrily. So, I start to ask her as the elevator finally reaches the corridor with the traps, is that another Banshee then? Yes, Flower says, a very evil and powerful one. She was trapped in this amulet 20 years ago by the Lasathi, and we've been acting as her jailers ever since. Wait, did you just say 20 years ago? How old are you exactly? Oh, I'll be turning 30 next month, the girl says, smiling. Hey, look, we've reached the main corridor. Follow me. The room with the button shouldn't be much farther. I'm not sure how to tell you this, but you don't really look 30 years old, I tell Flowers as we start walking down the corridor. Oh, my body stopped aging 20 years ago after my soul fused with Petals. Petal keeps nagging me that I technically never made it to the age of 10, but I say to hell with that. If I want to have my birthdays, then nothing is going to... Oh my gods! What? Kate asks her. What happened? I remember those 3 corridors, she says as she points in front of her. One of them leads to the control room, while the other 2 lead to deadly traps. I know for certain the correct corridor had some sort of an insect marked on one side of its walls. We're practically already there. Come on! An insect, Kate asks as Flower rushes ahead of us to have a better look at the walls of the 3 corridors. No! The girl yells as we reach the place where the path splits into 3 directions. Looking at the markings on the 3 walls, I start to understand the source of the girl's frustration. She was not mistaken when she remembered that the correct corridor had an insect marked on it. What she failed to remember, however, was that the other 2 corridors had insects marked on them as well. Wait a minute, Kate says. Didn't that note from the leopard say something about these corridors with insects marked on them? I see a dragonfly, a beetle, and a wasp. The leopard told us to take the one with the beetle. Is that the correct one? Leopard? Flower asks us. You mean Leo the leopard? Yes, Kate answers her. Do you know him? Yeah, I know him, but I don't understand why he'd help you. He really hates humans. You think it might be a trap then? Kate asks. I don't know, the girl says. Oh, if only I can remember which way is the right one. I guess we'll go with the beetle. I don't think the leopard would have chosen such a roundabout way of having us killed when he could have simply told the fox that we were planning to escape and have her execute us instead. I say we go with the corridor marked with a beetle, and if we trigger any traps, we get out of there as soon as possible. I'll be honest here, Darren says. I don't think we have enough information to arrive at any conclusion. So if it's going to be a guessing game either way, I'd rather go with Barry's instincts, because then if he's wrong, I can blame it all on him afterwards. Thanks, Darren. Once everyone agreed to have me carry the blame for our potential failure, we all started walking down the corridor marked with a beetle. After a few minutes of walking through the corridor, we finally start to see some light at the end of the tunnel. This is it, Flower says, excited as she points toward the exit. I remember this part. Once we're past that door, nothing will stand between us and the control room. I told you we'd make it there safely. Come on, follow me. That was a little too easy. Flower rushes out of the tunnel, but her momentum fades immediately after she enters the control room, and she stops right in front of the corridor's exit. As I reach the end of the corridor myself, it takes a few moments for my eyes to adjust to the really bright light in this room. Congratulations! I hear a familiar voice say to us, while my vision is still a little blurry. You've made it to the control room. Now you can all die in peace knowing that you've achieved your goal. I suddenly realize where all the light is coming from. The spirit fox is standing right before us, and her insanely strong magical aura is shining so brightly that it's hard to even look at her. Mia the leopard is also at her side, but the bull appears to be missing this time around. The room is filled with levers and buttons of all shapes and sizes, just like Flower said, and there are strange writings on all the walls. Once I learned that you escaped from the dungeon, the fox says, I knew there was only one place where you could be headed, and so instead of chasing you down, I decided to simply wait for you here. Suddenly a golden cage pops out of nowhere and surrounds every one of us, except Flower. It seems that my benevolence was wasted on the likes of you, the fox says. I'm going to execute you here and now, and be done with this once and for all. The magical power coming from her is like nothing I've witnessed before. I haven't even felt so much pressure when I was in the presence of Azarius. The hopelessness I'm feeling right now can only be compared to the feeling I got when we first met Eden. Are we all just going to die like this without even getting a chance to offer the slightest amount of resistance? Elia, wait, the girl says as she puts herself between us and the spirit fox. You can't hurt them. They're not bad people. Do not stand in my way, Flower, the fox says. These people broke our sacred rules and they must be punished. Yeah, but you can't you, like, give them a slap on the wrist or something? I'm not going to have you question our methods or our punishments, little girl. You may have helped us in the past, but if you insist on defending these criminals, I will not hesitate to execute you along with them. Oh, you're always so stubborn, the girl says as her eyes turn a bright red and her magical aura starts to radiate strongly from her body. Fine, if you want to fight, I'll give you a fight. Get ready, Petal. Please stop, the leopard says in the common language. The Flower's eyes start to slowly go back to their normal green color. What is the meaning of this, Leo? The fox asked him. I only gave you permission to use the common language in case of an extreme emergency. I am sorry if I'm speaking out of turn, oh great golden fox, but I consider this to be an emergency of the utmost import. Explain yourself. I would like to invoke the 6th golden rule and take personal custody of these prisoners. To what end? I believe that they would be of much better use to us alive rather than dead. We cannot afford to send any more of our troops into the ogre stronghold. At this rate, the sacred chalice will be lost forever. But these warriors have proven their combat prowess when they defeated our Hydra pet from the subterranean level. We could send them to retrieve the chalice in exchange for their freedom. I see, the fox says. So this is why you insisted on accompanying me to the control room when we learned that the prisoners had escaped. You surprised me, Leo. Of all the animals in our kingdom, you are by far the one who hates humans the most. I never thought I'd see the day when you would suggest using any of them to further our cause. She pauses for a bit to ponder on his words. Very well, then, the fox says in full accordance with the 6th golden rule. I hereby grant you full custody of these 5 prisoners. Alea then turns to us. You are lucky to have been spared in such a way, humans, she says. I suggest you make the most of this opportunity. Could you tell us more about this sacred chalice that we are meant to retrieve? The chalice is an artifact that can give water unique healing properties, Elia says. We use this water to cure certain diseases that are specific to animals and are incurable through the use of spells. These diseases have claimed many lives of my subjects since the ogre stole our chalice and hid it in their stronghold. Will we get our collars temporarily deactivated once we get to the ogre's stronghold? Kate asks. I've seen collars like these before, and I know for a fact that they could be activated and deactivated at will, without having to remove them. I'm afraid that the collars we use are a more primitive version of the ones you know of, the fox says. Their effects will not go away unless we remove them completely, and I'm not going to have them removed until you've retrieved the golden chalice. I'll give you a time limit of 5 days to complete your quest. This should give you more than enough time to get the task done. If you're not back within 5 days, I'll assume that you've abandoned your quest, and I'll use these collars to have you killed by electrocution. 5 days? Hedrick says. What if we get lost on our way there? You won't, the fox says, because I'm sending a guide with you to show you the way. She then turns to Flower. Flower, since you were so eager to protect these humans with your life, I'm assigning this task to you. I don't really think that they'd still want me as their guide after all that happened in these ruins. Couldn't you maybe send Leo or... No, I'm sending you. Consider this your punishment for confronting me earlier. Of course, I'm not forcing you to go. If you don't want to take on this task, I'll simply execute them right now and spare you the trouble. No, Flower shouts. No, don't do that, okay? I get it. I'll go with them to the ogre's stronghold. Jeez, I don't like this fox. Very well, then, the fox says as she turns to leave. Leo, I'll leave you in charge of giving them their mission briefing. I have some other business to attend to. So, Flower says to us as the fox leaves the room, I guess we'll be traveling together for a while longer. She then starts laughing nervously all naturally again. Oh boy, even without using my premonition stat, there's one thing I'm definitely sure of. This is going to be one hell of a trip. Well, we didn't die, which is what I kept getting scared of. That'll be it for this one, guys. Go spread the love, because love always wins. See you next time.